Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I want to talk to you about there is a lot of chatter in the media that US-India relations are being reset. All the ugliness that had triggered India-US relations since Donald Trump imposed first 25% reciprocal tariffs, and then on top of that added 25% secondary tariffs as penalty on India to change its foreign policy, to stop buying Russian oil, to stop buying Russian weapons, and claiming that India's purchasing of Russian oil was supporting Russia's economy and thereby prolonging the war in Ukraine. In fact, on a couple of occasions, some of his aides even called Russia's invasion of Ukraine as Modi's war. And so the things were getting really very ugly. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, Donald Trump decides to call Prime Minister Modi and convey to him greetings on his birthday, which is today. So there was a phone call in which they had a good conversation. And then Donald Trump essentially tweeted, and I will read the tweet out to you on his Truth Social. There was a very positive response from India's Prime Minister, and suddenly it feels as if the gloom over India-US relations has been lifted, and they are now in a better mood. And so the negotiations on the trade have begun in earnest. I think the Indian delegation is going to be here in Washington next week. It was announced that the Indian Prime Minister will not be going to the UN for the UN General Assembly meeting. Earlier, there was this rumor that there was going to be a bilateral with Donald Trump on the sidelines of the UNG Assembly meeting, the UN General Assembly summit, but I don't know. It's possible that given the resetting of India-US relations, the Prime Minister might feel that it is a good opportunity. He could change his mind and come to the UN and also meet with Donald Trump, and that would really give a push to the trade negotiations. But does it really mean one phone call and one Truth Social post? Does that mean that Donald Trump has fully reversed his policy? Because these are just words. And he did take very serious actions against India, two serious actions. One was imposing a very high reciprocal tariff of 25%. That is the highest in South Asia. Bangladesh is 20, Pakistan is 19, Sri Lanka is 20. So India got the worst deal at the moment. And then on top of that, he took another serious action against India, which both of them have been implemented and they are already hurting. I spoke to you about the Wall Street Journal article, which talked about how Indian American businesses here in New Jersey and Chicago and elsewhere are worried that they might simply go out of business if this 50% tariffs on Indian goods remains for a long period of time. There were also articles as to how in Uttar Pradesh, the carpet industry was going bankrupt. There were no more orders. The jewelry industry in India is suffering. No new orders because of the high tariffs. It's probably going to result in having a $20-30 billion impact on India's GDP, as well as causing unemployment in India. So these are very serious steps that Donald Trump has taken. And just a phone call and a tweet, does that reset these relations? I'm not very sure. I would be very conservative in this matter, and I would say that the relations have been reset only if Donald Trump does one of these three things. And these are the benchmarks for me. If one of these three things happens, then I could say that, okay, there is something positive to look forward to in this relationship. And statements such as Modi is my good friend and Modi is a great prime minister, all of that have absolutely no meaning at all. It may please be some people in India who are constantly promoting Prime Minister Modi, but in terms of US national interest, it has zero relevance. So these are the three things that I think Donald Trump needs to do. But before that, let me first read out the two tweets to you. And there's an observation that I want to make. I'm sure you've seen them already, but I still want to talk to you about those. But before all of that, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. So the tweets well, Donald Trump called and spoke with Prime Minister Modi, and after that, this is what he wrote on Truth Social. He said, "Just had a wonderful phone call with my friend Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I wished him a very happy birthday. He's doing a tremendous job. Narendra, thank you for support on ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. President Donald J. Trump, DJT." So there are two things that I want to there are two observations that I want to make about this particular post. But let me read to you what Prime Minister Modi said in response. He says, "Thank you, my friend, President Trump, for your phone call and warm greetings on my 75th birthday. Like you, I'm also fully committed to taking the India-US Comprehensive and Global Partnership to new heights. We support your initiatives towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict." So the difference is interesting. For example, Donald Trump praises Narendra Modi for doing a tremendous job. Prime Minister Modi does not reciprocate that. He's not telling Mr. President, "You are doing a wonderful job too." So that is an interesting observation. Remember, these are not casual statements. These are very carefully vetted statements, especially given the state of India-US relations. India is a very important strategic partner for the US, and things were getting bad. So everything that Donald Trump is going to write is going to be at least discussed with his aide, and the same with India. So when Prime Minister Modi does not reciprocate and tell Donald Trump that he's doing a good job, it's a message. But then Donald Trump then uses his first name, he says Narendra, and says, "Thank you for your support on ending the war." And that is his way of indicating collegiality and friendship. Prime Minister Modi does not refer to him as Donald at all, still calls him President Trump. And then this is the clincher. Donald Trump does not mention anything about taking India-US Comprehensive and Global Partnership to new heights. He does not talk about that at all. He just says, "Happy birthday, you're doing a great job, and thank you for your support on ending the war between Russia and Ukraine." What does Donald Trump mean by that? He has imposed 25% tariffs on India because he's so upset with India. He called Indianeconomy a dead economy, and his aides called this Russia-Ukraine war as Modi's war. So now what does Trump mean in this post, saying, "Thank you for your support on ending the war between Russia and Ukraine"? What did Prime Minister Modi say on the phone to Donald Trump, which prompted him to say, "Thank you for your support on ending the war between Russia and Ukraine"? And that is the question that has stuck in my head. I have no answer. I've looked at most of the media reports on this. I've looked at Indian government's reports from the White House. It's not very clear why Donald Trump has said this. Is he baiting Prime Minister Modi? Is he provoking Prime Minister Modi? And if Donald Trump is happy with India's support on ending the war, then why did he immediately lift the 25% additional tariffs that he has imposed on India? So a lot of questions from just this one Truth Social post. And if you look at the Prime Minister's response to the President, first he adds a new dimension to it. He talks about, "I'm also fully committed to taking the India-US Comprehensive and Global Partnership to new heights." He's implying that, and he says, "like you." So he's basically suggesting that Donald Trump has committed himself to taking India-US Comprehensive and Global Partnerships to new heights. So what did Donald Trump say that led the Prime Minister to do this, or is he tempting and provoking Donald Trump? And then he says, "We support your initiative towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict." That to me was very surprising. "We support your initiatives towards a peaceful resolution of the Ukraine conflict." One of Donald Trump's initiatives was to impose 25% tariffs on India as one of his initiatives to advance a peaceful resolution in Ukraine. Does Prime Minister Modi support that? Obviously not. So anyway, so this is a lot of fluff diplomacy. That is why I insist that I would like to see three things before I'm willing to say that the relationship has been reset. Number one, that 25% tariffs, the additional one on India for buying Russian oil, which was encouraged by the United States, by the Biden administration, has to go. It is unfair, as India has said before, it's illogical. There are no tariffs for doing the same on China and other countries. So first, that has to go. Then we can say, okay, now the things are getting better between India. And the second thing is that India has to get at least as good a deal as the European Union on the bilateral trade agreement. So that 25% should come down to 15% at least. It could go down to 10. Only United Kingdom has got a 10% tariff, which was the minimum that Donald Trump wants to impose on all countries anyway. Nobody's going below 10, at least if he can. Now it would be a different thing if the Supreme Court also rules that all tariffs are illegal. Yesterday, we discussed this in my class. We read the US Constitution, and I can tell you very clearly that Donald Trump does not have the constitutional authority to impose tariffs at all. It is the purview, the domain of the Congress. So if the Supreme Court just throws the tariffs out, then Donald Trump probably will immediately go to the Congress and try to make sure that those things are passed as law. But then if they become law, then there won't be instruments for negotiations for Donald Trump. He cannot at will increase and decrease them because then he'll have to go back to the Congress every time. So anyway, so the second thing that I would like to see is that India's reciprocal tariffs go down to 15%. Then you could say that, okay, now we can say that the relationship is getting along fine. And the third thing that I would love to hear about is that Donald Trump is going to India for the Quad Summit in November. Sergio Gore, the nominee as US ambassador to India, has already signaled to some extent that Donald Trump will go for the Quad. So, because it does two or three things. One, it commits, it at least signals that Donald Trump is still committed to the Quad. It also sends a signal that Donald Trump is still committed to the strategic partnership that Modi is talking about with India. If India is one of the most important partners that the US has, then why is he not going to India? I mean, he's already been to Europe several times since he became president. He's been to Scotland. He's in UK today, in spite of all the protests. And the king has downgraded his visit. And then he was there for the NATO summit a few weeks ago in France, I think. So he's been there at least 4 times or 3 times to Europe, but he has not been to India at all. So those 3 things should happen. The Russia-related tariffs should go. The reciprocal tariffs should come down to 15%, and Donald Trump should come to India in November. And then we can say, all right, now we are back on track. Because if you go back to India under Biden, all of this would have happened. Biden would have come to India for the Quad Summit like he came to India for the G20 Summit. Because elevating the Quad to the level of heads of state summit was an initiative that Biden had taken. So we couldn't say only then that India is back to the same level as India-US relations were during Joe Biden's term. The only difference would be the additional 15% tariffs that Donald Trump is imposing on India. The tariffs are going to have an impact not just on Indian businesses, they're also going to have an impact on the US, especially if he continues with this trend and imposes tariffs on pharmaceuticals than on derivatives of semiconductors. So that's where we are. There's another rumor that is being floated around, which kind of negates the idea that India-US relations are going back to as they were in the past. And that is this rumor that Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is coming to the UN General Assembly meeting UNGA starting next week in New York. And he is going to be meeting with Donald Trump on the sidelines. And Asim Munir is also coming along. So there is a possibility that Donald Trump will take a few minutes time out and meet, even if he stops and shakes hands with Asim Munir and Shehbaz Sharif and just says, how is it going? How are the floods? How are you recovering? Do you need some help with the floods, etc.? I mean, even if that kind of conversation, the Pakistani government will milk it as a sign of growing US-Pakistan relations as strategic partnership, whatever. So there's no confirmation from either the US or the Pakistani government about this scheduled bilateral meeting between Trump and Shehbaz Sharif, along with Asim Munir. but there are lots of reports in Pakistani media and, of course, in Indian media. As you can see, I'm sharing the NDTV's comment here. So anyway, to sum it up, Donald Trump's phone call to Prime Minister Modi was a very positive step, and he should be applauded for that. And it does show that at least if there is no reversal in traditions, at least the temperatures are going down. And Prime Minister Modi's response was also very cordial. I mean, there were some issues that I raised, but it doesn't mean that the relationship has been reset. The bilateral trade negotiations are going to be very difficult. There's a lot of pressure on both sides, especially from agricultural lobbies. So we will see how these things goes. In fact, from the Indian point of view, their perception, Donald Trump keeps saying that we will have a deal soon, and he doesn't say by when. Whereas the Indian side has said that they expect to have a deal by November. So they're timing it with the Quad summit so that when Donald Trump comes to India and announces that, I suppose that is what the Modi government is planning. And it sort of coincides with Bihar election. So it would be very nice for them if that really happens. So anyway, so that's all I wanted to share. So please subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtada Khan. Take care.